діяльності СММ ОБСЄ. Нашим спікером буде Олександр Хук, заступник керівника спеціальної моніторингової місії ОБСЄ по скайпу. Брифінг буде проходити англійською мовою. Mr. Hook, we're ready to hear a report from you.
Thank you. I'm greeting you from Solidar, where I met with representatives of the Joint Center for Control and Coordination as part of my visit in eastern Ukraine. Today, on the first day of the Old New Year, I'm happy to report some good news. On the 22nd of December last year, when the sides at the Trilateral Contact Group agreed to respect the spirit of the Christmas period, there has been a significant decrease in the level of violence, in particular at and around the remains of the airport in Donetsk. Our monitors on the ground have been recording very low numbers of ceasefire violations there. On 4 consecutive days, in fact, they recorded none. There are, unfortunately, signs that this restraint has come to an end. Yesterday, we recorded a number of explosions and some bursts of small arms fired there. For me, however, the fact that the area had been a hotspot for so long with unprecedented level of violence and can suddenly turn quiet is cause for hope. It demonstrates that when there is a will, there is a way. There has, however, been no such will in other parts of the Donbas, in particular in and around Orlivka and in the southern part of the Donetsk Oblast. In Orlivka, we have seen a marked increase of violence. There have been regular exchanges of small arms fire and mortars. In one incident, just north of the city, in the small settlement of Saitseve, where before Christmas a woman had been killed, another woman had been injured last Friday there. She is but the latest in a long list of civilian casualties in this conflict. A Ukrainian police officer was also killed during the woman's evacuation from the scene. The worst violence, however, came last Thursday and Friday when the SMM, positioned in Orlivka, observed intense exchanges involving salvos of multiple launch rocket systems, artillery, and mortars. Dear friends, a few hours before this exchange of fire by proscribed weapons, SMM monitors were in the very same area. They were monitoring the general situation, including the withdrawal of weapons. However, shortly after 10 a.m., the SMM monitors were forced out of their vehicles and to the ground by armed so-called DPR members at gunpoint. Their hands were aggressively placed behind their backs and their legs were kicked apart as they lay down, face down in the snow. Afterwards, they were marched at gunpoint in a nearby building. The incident concerns me on a number of levels. The violence used against unarmed civilian monitors is shocking and totally unacceptable. Not only were our people illegally detained, they were treated with a level and intensity of violence that made them feel their lives were in imminent danger. What is worse is that this attack, and I use this word deliberately, was not the action of some ill-disciplined individuals acting outside their chain of command. It was, on the contrary, a targeted and well-coordinated violent assault on monitors, and indeed on the entire OSCE Special Monitoring Mission, and a direct challenge to the mandate given to the SMM by the 57 OSCE participating states. It seems highly likely that the so-called DPR were ruthlessly intent on preventing the SMM monitors from monitoring and reporting on an unfolding escalation in violence and the use of weapons in Horlivka. This comes without surprise, given the proximity of the scene of this attack to the launch site of some of the weapons used later that evening, and the fact that the monitors had been visiting so-called DPR compounds in the city. I therefore see the incident, albeit a particularly aggressive and violent one, as part of a systematic pattern. Our freedom of movement, provided for by our mandate and by the Minsk Addendum, has been challenged regularly, particularly by the so-called DPR and LPR. Between the 5th and 11th of January only, we have been restricted in our freedom of movement 22 times. Most of it occurred in the area not controlled by the government. A recent case in point is Sverdlovsk, close to the Ukraine-Russian Federation border, where for 4 weeks the so-called LPR has been preventing us access to the town, claiming that a so-called police operation is ongoing in the area and that the Christmas tree in the center is mined. In response to these restrictions, the SMM conducted search patrols to that town. Separate patrols approached the town from each of the 5 access roads. All patrols in the end successfully made it into the town. Speaking to many interlocutors and residents in the town, including at the police station there, the SMM was informed that the situation in the town was calm, that there was no demining or anti-terrorist operation ongoing, nor had there been a bomb under the Christmas tree. Dear friends, and everyone else who is listening here, I have one message for those imposing such restrictions on the SMM, at gunpoint or otherwise. The SMM has the backing of 57 participating states, all of them, and we will not be intimidated or deterred. Today, I brought this incident to the attention of the Joint Center for Control and Coordination. The mission also brought this incident, when it happened, to the attention of General Andrei Taran and General Kasan Kaloyev, the heads of the Joint Center. I repeat again, the addendum to the package of measures highlights the freedom of movement of the mission and the vital role the Joint Center has in following up jointly on any restriction of this kind. Our response to this incident, in fact, has been to increase our presence, both in terms of an increased number on the ground and in terms of wider geographical scope. Today, for instance, I had the honor of opening another forward patrol base in Krasnoarmeysk, and later today I will open another one in Svetlodarsk. We are also making more and more use of technology to improve our monitoring capabilities. Just yesterday, for instance, a camera went into operation in Shirokine, allowing us a 24/7, 360-degree view there. The violence in and around Horlivka has brought into sharp focus one important fact. Weapons that should have been withdrawn have not been withdrawn. Dear friends, the facts speak for themselves as reflected in our daily reports. Now let me turn to another area of concern, which is the triangle of Pavlopil, Oktyabr and Komiternove in the southern part of the Donetsk Oblast, where the Christmas spirit I've mentioned in the beginning has also failed to materialize. Since the deployment of Ukraine armed forces to Pavlopil in November, we have witnessed an evolving dynamic, a sort of a chain reaction, only to be countered by the so-called DPR with its deployment of men and hardware in nearby Kominternove. The forces move closer to each other, the exact opposite of what is needed now. The sides have been maintaining an uneasy standoff with only occasional small arms and mortar exchanges. Like Horlivka, this area is a patchwork where sometimes only open fields and country lines separate opposing sides, where proximity threatens to create an uncontrolled, violent freefall. We have seen how this happens just a little further south, in Shirokine. That town is now abandoned and destroyed. It stands as a reminder that there can be no winner in such a face-off. Although Luhansk region has remained relatively calm since I last spoke to you, the large number of tanks we witness in areas southwest of Luhansk, at first sight for training purposes, can similarly create uncertainty and fear and can lead to unforeseen consequences. Training areas can easily become staging areas, allowing for easy potential deployment to the contact line. that fear entails a counter move. Soon we have a Pavlov pill and then a Horlivka, a never-ending bushfire along the contact line. As I see it, this dynamic is essentially at the heart of the problem we face at the moment. Both sides have signed up to a settlement. They are politically committed to resolve this dispute, yet the dynamic on the ground pulls them into a different direction. This must stop. We need to see confidence building on the ground, where men with weapons at their disposal understand the thinking and logic of those opposing them, so fear does not take hold and counter moves follow. The sides must immediately put an end to the vicious cycle by adhering to agreed mechanisms in which they inform each other and the SMM of their intentions and proposed movements and deployments. Moving weapons out of storage sites, for example, may indeed be due to rotations, but unilaterally doing so only instills fear, mistrust, and a continuation to a conflict that no one wants. Dear friends, as usual, at the end of my statement, I would like to inform you about the latest mission numbers. As of today, the mission counts 662 monitors, of which 547 are deployed to the eastern part of Ukraine. In addition, there are 290 Ukrainian colleagues working with us and 77 other international staff working for the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission. Thank you for your attention. Available for questions should be any.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hug. Чи є запитання або уточнення? If there are any questions or concerns? And no, there is none. Thank you very much for a comprehensive update. Дякую. На цьому прес-конференцію завершено. І це був останній прес-брифінг на сьогодні. До побачення.